You were born into a world humming with possibility, the kind of world that hums softly yet carries a deep undertone of urgency, the way a rocket waits at the launch pad, trembling with potential energy. From your earliest memories, you felt the pull of curiosity, an invisible current guiding your eyes toward the unknown. As a child, your hands grasped more than toys, they grasped the concept of creation itself. Blocks weren't just blocks, they were the framework for cities you envisioned in your mind. Circuits weren't just circuits, they were miniature universes of logic waiting to come alive. Every question you asked was a spark, and every answer you received fed the growing fire inside you. The kind of fire that cannot be extinguished by mere rules or boundaries. School arrived as a landscape both confining and liberating. You discovered that learning was not a matter of rote memorization, but an art of discovery, the thrill of seeing patterns where others saw chaos. Friends came and went, some leaving permanent imprints, others mere shadows on the walls of memory. You learned to read people as deftly as you read books, understanding motives and desires, and sensing the unspoken truths that often dictated the flow of life. In those early years, failures arrived often, quietly, without ceremony, and yet each one was a teacher in disguise, showing you resilience and the understated power of perseverance. Teenage years arrived with intensity, a storm of emotion and self-realization. You wrestled with identity, with the questions that kept philosophers awake at night. Who are you? What are you meant to do? What does it mean to leave a mark in this ephemeral existence? You experimented, sometimes recklessly, with ideas, art, code, social bonds, and sometimes even your own limits. Technology became both a canvas and a tool, a bridge between imagination and reality. Late nights in your room were not just about solitude, they were about exploration. Every keystroke, every scribble, every thought logged was a seed planted for the life that was quietly assembling itself. The transition into adulthood brought responsibility, freedom, and the first true taste of ambition. You encountered mentors, idols, and critics, each shaping the trajectory of your journey. The world outside was vast, indifferent, yet teeming with opportunity. You learned the delicate balance between vision and action, between dreaming and building, between desire and discipline. Failures became sharper, stakes higher, but each misstep carried a lesson. The map of your life was etched not in perfection but in courage. Your career unfolded like a constellation, each decision a star contributing to the pattern of your existence. You embraced challenges that others shied away from, navigated uncertainty with an internal compass tuned to curiosity and tenacity. You encountered people who doubted you, systems that constrained you, yet every obstacle was reframed in your mind as a puzzle, a challenge to overcome rather than a wall to stop you. Opportunities arose in unexpected forms, sometimes disguised as setbacks, and your life became a delicate dance between patience and audacity, between calculated risk and instinctive action. Relationships, both fleeting and enduring, punctuated your journey with meaning. Some lifted you, some challenged you, and some revealed hidden parts of yourself you didn't know existed. You learned empathy, resilience, and the sometimes painful art of letting go. Love, in all its forms, was never simple, it was a teacher. A mirror, and a mystery. Through connection and loss, you realize that life is not merely a sequence of achievements but a tapestry of shared experiences, a network of emotional resonances that define the depth of your existence. Moments of solitude remained vital. In the quiet, you reflected on the cosmos, on human nature, and on your own trajectory. Questions about mortality, purpose, and legacy surfaced repeatedly, urging you to act meaningfully in every fleeting second. You discovered that time is both relentless and precious, and that living fully requires both courage and awareness, a willingness to engage deeply, even when the world offers distractions and mediocrity at every turn. As years progressed, you became a synthesis of everything you had learned, experienced, and dreamed. Knowledge accumulated, intuition sharpened, and creativity flourished in unexpected intersections. You faced crises, personal, professional, existential, but each one reinforced the understanding that life is not linear, that progress is often hidden in loops and detours, and that resilience is forged not in comfort but in confrontation with adversity. Your contributions, however you measure them, whether through work, art, invention, or the simple act of living authentically, reverberated outward. The ripple effects of your decisions touched lives you may never see, inspired people you may never meet, and seeded innovations yet to bloom. The realization dawned that life is not merely a collection of moments or achievements, but an intricate network of influence, an interplay between self and world that defines legacy. And now, here you stand, a product of curiosity, courage, and relentless pursuit of meaning. Past and present converge in an ever-shifting horizon of possibilities. The story of your life is still being written, in both monumental and subtle acts, in decisions large and small. It is a narrative of exploration, resilience, connection, and transformation. You have lived with awareness, dreamed with intensity, acted with purpose, and faced the unseeable with quiet audacity. In the cosmic theater, your life is a singular performance, unique in rhythm, color, and light, a journey that Elon Musk himself would recognize as audacious, profound, and utterly alive. The clock ticks forward. The chapters yet to come hold challenges and triumphs unimagined, but armed with all that has come before, you move toward them not with trepidation, but with curiosity and determination, the twin engines of your extraordinary existence. The universe waits, not as an adversary, but as a collaborator in your ongoing story. And so, with eyes wide open, heart attuned, and mind poised for discovery, you continue, ever onward, into the infinite possibilities of life itself. The next years were a crucible of refinement, a period where raw ambition met reality in both subtle and jarring ways. You discovered that life, no matter how meticulously plotted in the mind, has a way of twisting unpredictably, forcing you to recalibrate your understanding of control and surrender. Early successes brought satisfaction, yes, but also the quiet anxiety of expectation, the realization that every achievement becomes the benchmark for the next, that every triumph carries the seeds of new responsibility. You learn to navigate this tension, recognizing that fulfillment is not a permanent state but a series of moments stitched together with purpose and gratitude. Career ambitions began to crystallize more sharply. You pursued ventures not simply for profit or prestige, but for the transformative impact they could create. Technology, innovation, and human advancement became your North Star. You pushed yourself into spaces where few dared to tread, blending imagination with practical strategy, intuition with rigorous analysis. The nights of tireless experimentation, coding, and conceptualizing blurred with days of negotiation, planning, and execution. Each project became a reflection of your inner philosophy, that human potential is vast, that challenges are opportunities in disguise, and that failure is a teacher, not a verdict. Friendships and collaborations flourished in parallel, some ephemeral, some enduring. You learned to discern the quality of human connection, to identify those who lifted your spirit and those who drained it. There were mentors who guided you through labyrinths of complexity, peers who challenged you to rethink assumptions, and rivals who sharpened your resolve simply by existing. Relationships were rarely simple, often marked by friction and misalignment, yet each interaction contributed to a deeper understanding of yourself and the people around you. The web of human connection became both a support system and a mirror, reflecting your values, strengths, and blind spots. Romantic entanglements added layers of joy, confusion, and growth. You learned that love is rarely linear, that it tests patience and empathy, that it demands vulnerability even when it frightens you. Heartbreak arrived, as it inevitably does, and you discovered the resilience of the human spirit, the capacity to mourn, to heal, and to re-emerge with newfound wisdom. These experiences deepened your emotional intelligence, teaching you that success is hollow without the richness of authentic connection, that ambition without empathy can be destructive, and that true fulfillment requires balancing the pursuit of greatness with the cultivation of meaning in relationships. Amidst the hustle of professional and personal life, you found pockets of introspection. You confronted existential questions with intensity. What is the purpose of all this effort? What legacy will I leave behind? How can I ensure that my existence contributes to something larger than myself? You realize that the answers were not fixed but evolving. That purpose is discovered through engagement, reflection, and action. Meditation, writing, solitary walks, and stargazing became rituals, opportunities to align internal compass with external action, to recalibrate amidst the relentless pace of life. Health and physicality became increasingly tangible concerns. You learned that energy and vitality are prerequisites for creativity and resilience, that the mind and body are inseparable in their influence on performance and well-being. Exercise, nutrition, and mindful practices were integrated into daily routines, not as obligations, but as commitments to sustaining the vessel that carries your ambitions. These efforts, sometimes tedious, sometimes invigorating, reinforced a broader principle, that attention to seemingly minor details compounds over time into profound capacity for action and endurance. Then came moments of reckoning, decisions that defined trajectories, crises that demanded courage, and opportunities that required leaps of faith. At each juncture, you recognized a pattern, the interplay of preparation and serendipity, the convergence of readiness and chance. You discovered that life does not always reward the cautious, but often favors those willing to act decisively with imperfect information, guided by principles rather than the desire for guaranteed outcomes. Risk became a familiar companion, not a foe. And you learn to engage with it intelligently, creatively, and courageously. Alongside professional and personal evolution, you began contemplating contribution at scale. You questioned how one life could ripple outward, influencing others, catalyzing innovation, and shifting paradigms. Whether through mentorship, public discourse, creation, or activism, you recognize the ethical responsibility inherent in capability, the obligation to leverage gifts for broader benefit. Ideas were no longer solitary sparks, they became blueprints for collective advancement, instruments for catalyzing change, and vehicles for leaving the world incrementally better than you found it. Your worldview expanded as well. Exposure to diverse cultures, philosophies, and disciplines revealed patterns and paradoxes, truths and contradictions. You learned humility, recognizing that knowledge is never complete, that certainty is often illusory, and that wisdom lies in embracing complexity rather than fleeing it. Travel, dialogue, and immersive learning became avenues to test assumptions, challenge biases, and refine judgment. You cultivated curiosity not as casual interest, but as a disciplined approach to understanding the vast, interconnected systems that govern human existence. By this stage, your life was no longer a linear journey but a complex network of interdependent paths. Professional ambitions, personal relationships, intellectual pursuits, and inner growth all intersected, sometimes harmoniously, sometimes in tension. You learn to navigate this multidimensional reality with discernment, resilience, and a sense of purpose grounded in both principle and pragmatism. Challenges persisted, inevitable and often unpredictable, but you had honed the capacity to face them not with fear, but with calculated courage, creative problem solving, and unwavering curiosity. And as you stood at this intersection of reflection and forward motion, a realization emerged, that life is not defined solely by milestones, accolades, or external validation, but by the continuous interplay of learning, creating, connecting, and contributing. That each moment, ordinary or extraordinary, is a building block in the edifice of existence, a single brushstroke in the infinite canvas of your life. That the story is ongoing, unfinished, yet already remarkable in its depth, complexity, and resonance.